Hey Dean, down to your performance. We're back working on Chris's Capri, not Caprice. Um, so we are pretty much 99% wrapped up on everything with his car. I got everything pulled apart. All the brackets and everything I put on. I painted everything, put it all back together, tightened all the suspension bolts. So that's all done. And he brought the drive shaft a couple weeks ago. He got the new flange, brought that up, dropped that off. So the drive shaft is in. I set the angle 1 degree. That's with all the solid bushings on the lower track, upper track bars, which we did the solid bushings in the rear end on the uppers. I got the fuel pump, made a bracket, mounted the fuel pump, ran the feed line up and over and then all the way to the front, tied it all up. Tranny lines are tied up. Return line is tied up. Everything's painted nice. Back here, I got the relays marked, labeled for the fuel pump, the ice tank. Oh, look at that. The label came off. And that's for the transmission fan. I got all the new battery cables run over to the on-off switch, battery cutoff switch. And then that's the return on the tank. The feed is hooked up down there, running. He's gonna run the vent from here just to right there. You can kind of see it hiding in there. I made a plate with a dash 10 and a dash 6. The dash 6 runs over and right there up to the ice tank, which is all mounted. It's wired. I put a plug on it. Comes over and goes to that middle relay. Everything's grounded. Wire back here, there's a lot going on. It's a little bit messy, but it needs a couple of zip ties to tidy it up a little bit. Everything is painted though, looking good. I did all the seam sealer. Punched his taillight. Also fixed his taillight that kept popping out over here. The little tabs that have the studs built in, they were broke off, so there was enough of it there that I took a 1/4 tap and ran it in to both of those. You see there's one there, and then I used the nice stainless bolts, button head bolts, and it actually pulled it in really tight, held it really nice, so that's good. The ice tank lines are run all the way up. He did end up getting some dash 16 hose. They run all the way up and under the dash to the bulkhead. I believe it's Motion Raceworks bulkhead. This hose is a little bit janky. These fittings are huge and you don't realize it until you put them on, but there's not a lot of room up here to run everything. So this one's nice and clean and run. We got, oh yeah, look at that. Would you look at it? All the push lock hose is on. The Holley boost solenoid is on, which I think is really nice piece. Comes with plugs terminated onto it already, and then it comes with the 4 blue come out of the plugs, and they're really long. These wires could have run to the back of the car if you really wanted to. So being that the wires are kind of small at the solenoid, I just left the plugs out here, and left the spare wire just kind of zip tied up there for now. I got the blow off valves. I changed the springs in them, put a lighter spring because the ones that were in them were like 800-pound springs. They probably never would have opened. And then teed the 2 blow off valves together, and then ran a line under the push lock line under the intake, and then it comes out the back and goes to right there. into the Motion Raceworks block, which I did a dash 4 AN off the back of the intake. There's that the ICT billet adapter for the Holley intake that goes in where the map sensor goes and gives you like a 1/4 inch NPT, I think it's 1/4 inch NPT thread. So I did the dash 4 to the vacuum block. The tops are all capped, the ends capped, and then there's one cap there that is the Holley 3.5 bar map sensor. And then I did another push lock under to the fuel pressure regulator to give you the reference line. Compressor source down to the wastegates. On both sides I did them. So each wastegate has its own source from its compressor. Oh, on this side I did the dome pressure sensor, which I need to zip tie up. I did forget about that. But I need to zip tie that up. But the dome pressure that gets input into the Terminator X box, I mounted his catch can in the corner here. Again, there's not a lot of room. We have the one line run across the back and over to that valve cover on 180 degree. You can see the red right there. There it is. So that one runs off that valve cover. He's going to make the one to go from there, probably with a 90, and go down, either a 90 or a 45, and go down and kind of loop it up into a 90 here. I had to move this coil pack, which he admitted when he had the bung welded in, he had it, should have been over here, and then the coil would have mounted on that bolt, but instead, you know, they just didn't realize that the coil was going to be so far over. So I just made a little, like a U-shaped bracket to mount the coil on, and then mount it to the valve cover. We got wires on it. They're not the best wires. They do touch there. That one's almost touching there, and then I grabbed a couple wires off of my truck, which that one touches there. Back one's fine. I put the wideband in. I capped the other side over there. You could see it in there. Then I got the, what is that thing called? Arc 4000. I got the board mounted. I don't know, I kind of like to be able to get to things, like if you have a fuse blowout or the relay goes bad, you know, something happens, you need to run a new wire, whatever it is. So mounting that panel, for me, mounting it there is easy, it's accessible, it's not in the way of anything. So I made an aluminum plate to cover the radio hole, and it's bolted, minus that one over there. I'll tighten that. But that's bolted to the dash, and then the board is bolted to it, and then the battery cable comes under. All the switches, which are mounted up there, which I, you know, fought with the idea of mounting them maybe off the back of the shifter. He had mentioned maybe on the dashboard, but when you sit in the seat, you need to be able to reach those switches, and mounting them there would have been okay, but kind of when, if you have an oh shit moment and you need to shut the power down to the car real quick, you know, that's a convenient place. You're going to be watching in front of you where you're going, so that's kind of, to me, that's a convenient place to reach up and click that panel off, rather than have to kind of fumble around and hit it down there, you know, where you have to look away from what you're doing. And then I got the fuse block mounted there, the inputs and the outputs. I you know, again, I struggle with leaving everything, oh you dirty girl, leaving the things accessible. for diagnostic. You know, if you wrap everything up in one big harness, it's hidden, it's gone. You know, so you have to fumble around and find it. The trans brake protection, the Holley trans brake input protection, or whatever they call it, is wired in. All the inputs and outputs, little fuse panel. So he has a for, it says fan. Yeah, that's the 12 volt for the relay for the fan, which is over there. So you got it on a fuse. You got switched ignition going over there. Then you got for the transmission trans brake, I got a fuse for that. A fuse for the line lock, which is the white wire. And then the ECU. And the boost solenoids and the dome sensor. And then a little something up top. And then all the grounds are up top, all neat. So all of that is there. This is his fuel pump fuse holder. Everything's tied here. The CAN bus is here, so it's accessible to plug in for like a laptop or whatever. That's your fuel pump relay. This is your fuel pump fuse, which I took out for now so I can key everything on and go through all of that. Updated the SD card. We got a bass tune in it that I kind of just quick threw together. Updated the firmware, everything, and then went through the TPS auto set. I did put some fuel in the tank just so it wasn't dry priming the fuel pump, and I can make sure the fuel pump came on and off like it's supposed to for prime, which it does. And I did end up firing the car, and I made the mistake of recording the very first startup in a text message to Chris. So being that it's a Samsung phone, it likes to decompress the file, so it records it in a very crappy quality. But I'll put it up right here. But that is the very first startup on this setup in his car, on the Holley Terminator X. There's no water in the radiator yet. The radiator hose wasn't even done, but that is done now. The lower hose is done. The upper hose has been done. The steam port I put into that little block. I think I'm going to change that. Not 100%, but I don't like it there, but I'll leave it there. I got the proportioning valve bolted. I mean, just a ton of stuff. The CO2 line is ran all the way up. Oh, the ice tank drain. I couldn't think of an easy way to get the ice tank drain through the floor and then through all the suspension with everything else going on. I probably could have stuck a line and then had kind of a valve back here, but I came up with kind of an idea. I had seen, I don't remember whose video it was, but they ran the drain right there to the passenger door in an AN line, and then just had a cap on the end of it where they put it into a bucket, because that tank only holds a few gallons, so you just need a couple of buckets or one bigger bucket, like a 5-gallon pail would work. So I did that. I put the, I don't know, it's ½ inch, I believe it's ½ inch or 3/4 inch MPT by -6, and then I made the line, which I should probably put a couple clamps on it so it's not flying around the car and slapping them, which would be funny, but it wouldn't be funny. And then of course I stuck it through a wire where it shouldn't have gone. So I'll push that back through and then back out here. So I'll put a couple of clamps, P-clamps, on the floor with like nut certs in it, and then the line just comes over to a female, and then I got this plug end So you could just literally by hand unscrew it, screw it in. Hand tight should be enough to seal that, being that there's no pressure, and then you just take it and you dump it out, and it's the lowest point, so it'll drain the entire tank. Like I said, like a 5-gallon bucket or a couple milk jugs, water jugs, whatever. And then you just kind of stick it back in the car, and it ain't gonna go nowhere. You know, it's 1 foot of hose that you could tuck it into the wiring harness if you wanted to keep it from kind of clanking around. But yeah, I'll get a couple of clamps on that. But he's got new rims. He's going to be possibly coming up today. We're going to top off the tranny fluid, get some water in it, kind of go back through everything and run it through the gears, and then start working the inputs and outputs, make sure the trans brake works. I know the line lock works. And then I'm going to see how long it takes for him to notice that I kind of did a little bit of my own little touch with some like a LED rope light. So through the back window, you know, looking at them, it's a bunch of bulbs. But at night, when it's dark in here and you kind of look, it's got a pretty good glow where you can see the ice tank and stuff. I just thought it was something, you know, different, to where, you know, my own little personal touch to the car. If he doesn't like it, he can cut them out. We can unplug them. I put a plug. You can just unplug them and cut the zip ties and pull them right out. Not a big deal. But I don't know, I thought it was cool. So yeah, I mean, everything's on the steering wheel. How did we do this? Okay, so this is the line lock on this side. The green is the line lock. And in my head, when you do your burnout, you know, it's a momentary button, so you have to hold it for the line lock. So once you get the tires up and going, first gear, you let off, click second, you know, get up to the line, and now you've got your trans brake is over here. So when you're at the line, you're gonna hold the button, and then that top button is your bump. So you light the first bulb, smash the trans brake, smash the throttle down, build boost, bump in with that top one, and then you can let go. Once you light the second bulb, you can let go of the steering wheel and have it on the you have that hand on the shifter ready to shift, if you're manually shifting your car, which he will, but he doesn't have the CO2 right now. Shift solenoid, CO2 solenoid, he doesn't have that. Maybe something he adds later on, but that's just in my head. You know, this is your trans brake, so you're gripping the wheel good, how you're gonna grip it, and then as soon as the bulb's light, you let off the trans brake and you go, you know, and you kind of drive, you know, with your hand here. And these aren't the easiest buttons to push, so they're a little bit stiff, so if you kind of flick it a little, it won't bang in. But I got that wired up. Yeah, I mean, that's it. And pretty much, hopefully he comes today. He's gonna bring gas and all that good stuff, and we'll get it fired up. I'll make another video of it fired up, and I'll adjust the IAC and stuff, and then possibly take it for a little ride and kind of go through the gears and get a little feel for it. But for that's it. I'm gonna end it off here, and then once he gets here, I'll start this video back and make a recording of the car running and stuff. So stay tuned.
drive.